Hello. 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 Every Rush song.
Hello and welcome to Every Rush Song, where today we are beginning our third album. Can you believe we've gone through two complete albums, gentlemen?
Yes.
I don't believe you.
Okay, I'm glad we agree.
Also, no.
Jay, which album will we be beginning today?
Boy, that was easy for him to say.
It was
That was
not.
really easy. Well, Shane, I'm glad you asked.
Oh.
Today's album, this album that we're going to start on, which will take us roughly through the end of this summer,
Oh boy, way on
or beyond, is Rush's 17th studio album, released in May 14th of 2002, and that would be Vapor Trails.
Vapor Trails, yeah. Which I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, this is your second favorite album.
I've been doing some thinking about that, Shayne.
Oh no, I love this shtick, and you're not going to keep it.
I've got some different equations that I use to come up with my ranking of the albums.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to tell you,
breaking news.
Vapor Trails is my second favorite album. Moving Pictures is number one, and everything else is number two. The math works. It's science.
Yeah, I feel like the math is solid on that.
Yeah.
I feel like there's no math in that, which means that it's solid.
Exactly.
It's solid, all right.
Speaking of solid,
the way we like it.
What do y'all think about Vapor Trails, other than it being Tim's second favorite album?
I think it's a real gas.
See what you did there. I like that.
Did you hear those? I heard crickets. I heard crickets.
How do you rank it, Jay? Amongst your faves?
Well, it's too soon to tell.
Oh.
But of the ones that we've listened to, that we've discussed so far, the albums, it would rank probably second or third among those.
So out of the three, it's not first.
You're right.
It's not first.
It's
okay.
not first.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think among the catalogs currently, I would rate it lower, on the lower end, because something's got to be at the lower end, and just happens to be this one.
Now, I think as we get through it may, as we get through more albums, it may move up, it may move down, it may, who knows?
Yeah. Right now it's tied for fourth.
Right.
Because my method is a little bit like Tim's.
So
it's tied for fourth.
I don't even remember what my order was. But...
A couple of questions about I guess it's famous for being a depressing album. What do y'all think about that?
I don't find it to be all that depressing. Knowing the story, knowing, what happened when Neil started writing and what this was kind of about, it can be construed as depressing. There's some depressing parts, but there's also some uplifting, and it's a healing album about after what he's been through. But there is a song on there I think that is kind of depressing. Now that I think about it, it was a poem that someone read at his daughter's funeral.
Oh yeah,
Neil's daughter's funeral.
Yep.
And there's a line from that poem that he used in the song.
Yeah.
That was and speaking of which, I guess I probably, those of you that are watching this, I'm sure already know the story, but if there's any newcomers, in 1997, Neil Peart's 19-year-old daughter, Selena, was killed in a car accident. And he and his wife his wife Jackie, a year later, also died from cancer officially, but many felt, including himself, that she died from a broken heart, which is not depressing at all. And she basically willed herself to die because she couldn't deal with the pain of her daughter's death. And he talks about that. Neil talks about in his book, Ghostwriter, travels on the healing road. But so they were on hiatus for, I think this was it was 6 years. Took them 6 years to record another album. The thing happened between this. So in the meantime, before he went on the road, it says, well, so while he's still in a state of grief, he suffered other indignities. His faithful family dog soon died after his wife. Then his best friend was sent to prison for marijuana possession.
Yeah.
So he's alone with all his dangerous thoughts. So he takes to the road on a solo trip on his motorcycle across Canada, and then he goes down through the U.S. to Mexico and across to Belize. He traveled about approximately 50,000 miles, often going as much as 500 miles a day or longer. And the lyrics that he had later written for the Vapor Trails reflects the travels and his feelings down his own healing road, which, of course, as I mentioned, was the name of the album. So there's kind of the backstory. It's, they hadn't recorded in years because he didn't even know he was going to come back. He basically I think it was his daughter's funeral or his wife's funeral. He said, "I'm kind of retiring because I can't do this." And the band's all like, "Hey, you do what you got to do. We're not worried about it." They were all very supportive, but
yeah, Alex said that after his daughter's funeral, it took him a long time to pick up a guitar.
yeah,
He said, my buddy's hurting, and music just not important to me right now.
Yeah.
And well, that's what I find amazing about that. So here's these guys, not quite 30 years yet.
Yeah.
But and then when you take a look at the first 10, 12, 13 years, it's album on the road. Quickly, album on the road, album on the road, album. And then eventually they got a little bit of a longer break.
Yeah.
But, so they're constantly playing.
Yeah.
But, to just say, I can't do it. It's just not important whatsoever to me right now.
I just like the fact that, Getty and Alec were so, supportive, and they're like, dude, band doesn't matter. That's not important. You're important. Your family's important. You got to do what, is best for you. And some people would not have survived that. But I really think that's probably what saved his life, was just hopping on the motorcycle and going. And just, stopping in towns and buying his bottle of Macallan 12 year. And
and he talks a lot in the book about how trying to stay upright on the road, not run over anything, not get hit by anything, having to focus on that. And it was a way to focus on something and to be active, to be out there without dwelling on anything that might depress him further.
Right. So was this was the longest between albums that they
Yes.
not
Yes.
Okay. I don't know what's the second longest, but it probably wasn't more than a couple of years. Right?
Yeah, pretty much, because it was a year or so between so Rush is 74, Fly By Night 75. or is Russian Fly By Night pretty much 74? Maybe into 75, then Crust of Steel 75, 2112 76, Farewell 77, Hemisphere 7. Oh no. Then there must have been a little bit more time between Hemispheres and Permanent Waves, because I think they started
78 and Permanent Waves in
80, right? But they might have started the process of,
yeah.
I don't remember when they started the recording of Permanent Waves, but then Moving Pictures was 81. Signals was 82.
Yeah, they started to take a little bit more time in between each.
I think, and they did. You saw a greater pause between Grace Under Pressure to Power Windows, but Grace Under Pressure, I think that was the longest it ever took them to record an album to that point. Just
from 82 to 84.
Right.
And then Snakes and Arrows was 5 years after Vapor Trails, and Clockwork Angels 5 years after Snakes and
Arrows. But they had also done.
They toured a lot.
They toured a lot. You know, I mean, golly, back in that day, you know, my first Rush concert, Power Windows, I want to say there was only the one show. There might have been 2 shows in Dallas, but you know, that was, they were there for 2 nights in a row, you know, back when bands did that. So never, once they came through, they weren't ever coming back on the same tour, and they started that. Did they start that with Test for Echo? Or was it Vapor Trails? I don't really remember now, and I'm sorry about that.
Well, when you mentioned like early on, they were doing an album a year, like you were saying.
Right.
In fact, Fly By Night and Carissa still came out in the same year.
Exactly.
Then they started slowing down. Power Windows to Hold Your Fire was 2 years. It was 2 years from Presto to Roll the Bones.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was 3 years from Counterparts to Tests for Echo. Then there's 6 to Vapor Trails, and then it's another 5 years between Vapor Trails and Snakes and Arrows.
But they were doing, plus on the Vapor Trails tour, they were going places they had not. That's what gave us Rush in Rio.
Yeah,
you know, they had no clue they were as popular. You know, they down there in Rio, the old TV show MacGyver, the theme song, the opening theme song to MacGyver, they had changed it to Tom Sawyer.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, right.
I
didn't know that until the time. Right.
Is that true?
Yeah, no, that's true.
Wow.
That is absolutely true. That is absolutely true. But on that tour, they had come through, because I saw the first show for Vapor Trails at Reunion, and then the second show out at Smirnoff, Starplex, whatever it is called now, or whatever it was called back then. You know, that was just so rare. And then they recorded the Feedback album, where they just did covers of the bands that they were learning how to play their instruments to, and, you know, show some respect there. So yeah, but see, yes, when you know all of that story right there, and you think about those lyrics, it can bring you down. But when you listen to me, a huge difference in the energy and their playing between Test for Echo to Vapor Trails. God, when I heard that opening drum beat to One Little Victory, I'm like, and you know, they chose that song to be song number 1 on side 1 back in that day.
That's, you know,
that was their "We're Back."
That's their "We Heard You Missed Us."
Yeah,
we're back.
Yeah, we're back. here we go. I mean,
Yeah.
I got
Talking about that Yankee Road.
Now, Tim, you were telling us something interesting about reading the book Ghost Rider off pod before we started recording.
No, that's funny because I don't remember ever said that I read.
When you were thinking about reading it, when you were.
Oh, yeah, when I was in the process of, and again, I'm sorry, folks, that reading really relaxes me. And if I make a chapter without falling asleep, I've done good. But it was hard being such a huge Rush fan and reading about what my favorite drummer, my favorite lyricist was going through. And at the same time, so while he's talking about his adventure, if you want to use that word, Alex and Geddy, so golly, what they're going through. So in that period of time, Geddy did do his first solo album, My Favorite Headache. Now, Alex had already done a solo album right before Test for Echo, Victor. So, he did that little thing right there. So, I mean, they kept themselves busy with some things, but what they were going through. But, there were moments in reading the book where I was just hurting for the man so much that I was like, I don't know if I want to read it anymore. I mean, look, I know how it ends. He's still with us.
Well,
and they're kicking butt in the studio again, But and so I've never finished the book. I have skipped ahead in some areas of the book, but I've never read it from front to back.
Well, it's like a Monty Python from a Monty Python movie. I can't remember which movie. It got better.
Right. Holy Grail.
Yeah.
Yes.
He because he's healing along the way. So he's working through this, and then he meets someone, then there's the guilt of that, and all that. And it's a really good. There's a lot of correspondence between him and his jailbird friend, it was a complete misunderstanding. That was the only reason he was in prison. But it does get better. What got me from the very beginning of that book was the way he writes. He could paint a picture. It's just he's such a good writer, and
you felt like you were either in the little like in World War II, the Germans with the little sidecar, like you were in the sidecar, or you had your arms around his tummy, right behind him,
Well, when he gets up he's having coffee, it's the morning he leaves. I think that there may have been a little bit of light rain or something like that. And just the way he paints it, I could almost smell the coffee. I felt like I'm sitting there just hanging out with him while he's drinking coffee. But that's what impressed me. It kept me going. Yeah, and there was parts of it that were definitely depressing. But with the subject matter, how could it not be? But also I thought it was kind of inspirational too, that he was able to work through all this.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot more high points in the album than in the book. I don't think the album it certainly has its depressing parts and probably more depressing overall, but I don't think it's as depressing as it's frequently made out to be.
Yeah.
What about the keyboards? What do y'all think about those keyboards?
What keyboards?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Right. There's no
Alex got his way on this.
So here's a little interesting fact that I read. I read that speaking of keyboards, this is the first album since Caress of Steel where there were no keyboards or synthesizer, and instead they did the layered guitar and bass and drum instead. I'm like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. That was so that dates way back to Caress of Steel, since they've
No keyboard.
They've
No,
gone
nothing.
without the
Yeah,
keyboards.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, and I never think of 2112 definitely as the keyboard error, but yeah, you've got
There's
some little pad thing on Tears,
yeah.
and and that was all done by Hugh Sim, and the opening intro for the overture,
Yeah.
So I mean, that wasn't just crazy sound effects; that was being run through a keyboard there. So yeah. Now they had started to take away the amount of keyboards starting with Presto, but they were still there. And and maybe a couple of songs may feature keyboards a lot more, like Red Tide from Presto. There's a lot more keyboards in that song, but like Show Don't Tell, the opening track from Presto. Yeah, you've got some synth pads going on in there, but that was pretty much the trio. You get to Roll the Bones, and same thing. You've got more synth pads going on, some little more keyboards here and there. Counterparts. So if Presto started here with the keyboards, and then Roll the Bones was like this, Counterparts then went like that to me. I mean, a huge step in getting rid of it. And even Test for Echo probably stayed around maybe a little bit less than Counterparts, but then Vapor Trails, and it goes
like no keyboards.
Yes, and it was just the energy in their playing.
And I mean, talking about
it's every song.
Yeah,
it's every song, even the depressing ones.
But just talk about the opening track, like you said, from the very beginning, from the very first hit of the drum. It's just holy crap! This is
in your face. It's
in your face.
Which Neil, except for some 16th notes, little things like in Vital Signs, Red Barchetta, Xanadu, there's not there isn't what you think of typical double kick, unless it's a double bass drum roll. He's doing a roll. He would do hitting the cymbals at the same time with his kick drums, like something really quick, maybe a couple of beats, but to do the and it's just, now of course that's not just all double kick, he's also playing the snare along while hitting his X hat, which every time I try that, my arms end up like this.
You say it's
like Twister. No, that's not
X.
Okay,
X
perhaps commonly confused, but
so he was an expat. Expat? Is it just? Did you say expat?
Expats.
Oh,
expats. Yes. So
not expat.
Circle of Trust.
Circle of Trust. But again, I mean, take a song, Vapor Trails, the song Vapor Trails, and that's the depressing one to me. The playing is still, you can feel the energy.
Yeah.
And that's why I absolutely, and I had friends of mine that were, I thought they were big Rush fans, going, I'm not all that impressed. What do you mean you're not impressed? Well, it doesn't sound like Tom Sawyer. They haven't done a song like Tom Sawyer since they did Tom Sawyer.
Right.
That's kind of how they roll.
You don't want to hear them doing the same crap
Have you
over
not
and over
paid
again.
attention?
And when I say crap, I mean
album?
excellent music.
Right.
That's a cool thing about them, is when it came out, it's very unrush like, and doing something unrush like is very Rush like. They were always doing new and different.
It's true.
Changes aren't permanent, but change is.
So a little couple of things about the album. The album itself, the peak album, the chart positions. They peaked on the Canadian album Billboard chart at number 3, and the US Billboard number 200 as was number 6.
Oh wow.
And this album had 2 singles. Can you guess what they were?
Okay. Let me take the first stab at it.
Okay.
And I know I'm going to be wrong because number 1, I don't ever remember hearing
Neither do
local
I.
Dallas Fort Worth radio playing the
Correct.
songs.
Yeah.
But the first one would have been One Little Victory. And I'm going to say the second one was Earthshine.
You were half correct.
So it was One Little Victory.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Secret Touch.
Yes, Shayne, it was Secret
Was
Touch.
it Secret Touch?
Yes. Wow. Yeah, that was the second one. Congratulations. You win absolutely nothing, but I want to thank you for playing.
I might have seen that today somewhere.
Cheater.
Oh, wow.
Thank you, Bard.
But I never ever paid attention
Yeah.
to where Rush was at on the charts because
Yeah.
I didn't care.
That's the radio.
right.
Doesn't
Yeah.
matter what
It's
other
the
people
radio.
think.
Yeah.
What do they know? They played the same crap over and over and over and over.
The only
You know what?
song I ever remember hearing on the radio besides, like Tom Sawyer and stuff like that was Big Money. I remember hearing that quite a bit.
When Power Windows came out, I remember hearing
Yeah.
Big Money. And I
Yeah.
remember hearing Manhattan Project
Yeah.
and Marathon. I never heard Mystic Rhythms, and that was one of the singles.
Rhythms.
I think a lot of those might be more in the Northeast
Could be.
when they talk
Yeah.
about that. I think, but who knows?
You can't trust Yankees.
So Shayne, can you tell us a little bit
Nope.
about, because I've listened to the there was an issue with the mix, the original mix
Yes.
of the
Jay.
album.
Back to you,
And
Jay.
I guess they said it was mastered too high. And it splits. There's crackle. It's not, doesn't quite work, I guess is what they're saying. So I listened to that and I listened to the remix. And at first I couldn't really tell a difference. But then I listened to it. I was like, okay, I can tell a little bit of difference. And it seems like I'm hearing more in it than I heard on the original mix. What have you discovered?
Well, Alex, I think it was Alex that had said that when it was mastered during that time, the cool thing with mastering was loud, and they tried to master it too loud, which distorted some of the signal, some of the sounds that were in it. Which is probably what made it sound, why people didn't like it. Because if it's going to be distorted, that's not what you want to hear, especially after everything they had done, or at least recent, everything probably since Caress of Steel sounded great for the time, but everything was so crisp and clear and pristine, and now you've got this one that's kind of distorted and loud.
Yeah.
But I've been listening to both of them, and I mean, I've been stopping mid-song and saying, what does this part sound like on the original? What does this part sound like on the remix? And I think a lot of it was, or to me, it sounds more raw. So I like the original a lot because to me, it's raw. Like if you listen to it, to me, it almost sounds like there's no effects on the kick and the snare. I mean, I'm sure that there's some compression of the sound to
Right,
get out
but it was
some
just
of the
lost.
rattles and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where then when you listen to the remix, you can hear like a little bit of, I guess, reverb, or it's not just a thump, thump, it's a little more of a boom, boom,
See, I was going to say, for me, a drummer, and this is something, yes, are you supposed to hear the kick drum? Absolutely. But you're supposed to feel the kick drum. And with the remix, I feel it.
Yeah.
When I'm listening, I can feel the kick drum,
I wasn't hearing the
kicking me.
acoustic guitar in the original. It just kind of disappears. But you can hear it in the
electric
in
is
the
a lot louder.
Yeah.
And I think you can hear more of the layered guitars on the original, but it also depends on, there's certain parts where it'll sound like it's a different mix. It'll sound like, well, they forgot to fade in that guitar. All of a sudden the guitar is just in your face. It didn't seem like they mixed it well. That's why it sounds raw to me. It almost sounds like a rough mix to me like, here's the songs, here's a good idea of the songs, now bring in the engineer to mix it and give the final mix, and it sounds like they didn't do that step. And then you can hear a lot, you know, there's a thing where they compress certain sounds to make them a little louder, and then they'll limit certain sounds so there's not as much noise, or, you know, like there won't be like high frequencies, and they can kind of clean up a recording by boosting some of the parts and limiting some of the parts. And you can hear, I think if you listen to them at the same time, you can kind of hear where there's some things that are boosted, and then there's some things that are limited. And it's mainly, I guess, like the drums and maybe the lower end that are boosted a little bit.
Right.
And then the guitar is a little less raw, a little less dirty sounding in the newer one. It doesn't stick out as much.
Like I was taking a listen to both mixes of Ghost Rider, and you got the beginning, and Neil's, you know, just doing that, you know, sort of with a kind of not completely open, just letting the hi-hat splash a little bit. On the remix version, to me, it sounds like somebody playing a hi-hat, kind of like in the men's restroom. It seems more live.
Yeah.
And, you know, just not open as in the sense of an open hi-hat. It's just more there. And but at the same time, Neil uses the combination of, instead of hitting a tom fill, where he's using a combination between his, you know, it could be the ride to China to splash some, something like that, that in the remix, I don't think is as loud as it is in the original on that part.
And there are
Am I high?
Mixed differently too. No. In fact, in Ceiling Unlimited, there's a guitar part at the end, kind of a lead to right out the end, and it's not in the original at all. That part's not there, but it's just more of the
and there's a lead. There's really a lead. Cool. There's a lead guitar part coming out of One Little Victory in the remix that you start hearing after they do the first part of it, where they go into and Alex is doing some stuff there, and then they just start really, in the original, it's just like all you're hearing is the da 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 da, and Gator's going one little victory. But in the remix, there's a guitar solo that Alex is doing.
Yeah, there's
yeah, you know,
they did change him up a little bit.
Now again, this is what I don't understand. They were no longer under the pressure from the record company. Hey guys, we understand that, you know, some things had happened. Yeah, we need to get another album from you like yesterday. They weren't under any kind of pressure. So therefore, you go in, do the mixing, all that stuff. Oh, did nobody?
That's what I was wondering.
To it?
I don't get that.
How is it that they didn't realize how
should have said, let's not press this, it doesn't sound good, let's remaster that.
Or maybe Shayne, it was like me and you when we did our first recording together, that
yes,
we were so excited, the fact that, number one, we were in a studio, we were recording, we were going to have a 45 single record thing.
We were on vinyl, man.
We were on vinyl. And we were so excited that, you know, we didn't really hear how crappy it sounded, you know, but and maybe they were so excited. They were excited about the material. They got it all laid down. It's going to be great. We're Rush, and let's start planning the tour. And nobody, I don't know.
So,
I need somebody to step up.
So you mentioned, Tim, earlier, you said you thought maybe the second single might have been Earthshine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny you should mention that, because they, for their retrospective 3 album,
right,
they went and they did a remix of One Little Victory and Earthshine, and it went over so well they decided to go ahead and remix the entire album.
Wow.
No, is this a third
Yeah.
mix? 'Cause
No,
I've
no,
never
no.
listened to
No,
Greatest Hits.
they just did the two and
Two,
then
and they're like-
decided to go back and do the rest.
Right. They
Okay.
got a lot of positive feedback
Ah,
over
gotcha,
it. So
gotcha.
they're like, hey, let's do the rest of it.
Well, I'll play just a little bit of each, like 15 seconds of each. So here is the original, so you can hear how it sounds.
Okay.
Hear how the kicks just kind of don't. Now
Yeah.
listen to the remix, that same part. Hopefully I cued it correctly.
See, I could hear more in
It's
that.
more,
I like,
boom. It's more of a and
And
kind of a
listening to it through here, I can feel it.
yeah, yeah.
You know, it feels like a heartbeat, which
Yeah.
that's what it should do.
and can you
Not
hear
just
the
hearing it.
and the hi-hat? Can you hear the hi-hat too? Like I almost don't hear notice the hi-hat at all in the original one. Just kind of like
Do that again, play it
like a
again.
quarter note sync. So here's the original. Maybe it is
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hi-hat is there versus the remix.
See, I think the hi-hat sounds the same.
I agree. But this sounds, you can hear more in this.
Yeah,
Like,
I
That
used to
it's
have
buried under sound in the first.
I used to have
in the
this jam
original.
box with I can't remember what the mode was, but you could switch the mode on it, and all of a sudden it would sound like it was the two speakers would sound like it was a surround sound, and it would be just a bigger, fuller sound, but not as separated. The instrumentation wasn't separated. Everything
Right.
was fuller, but not separated like you would hear in a surround sound currently. And to me, the remix is like that. It's a wider spectrum. It's a broader sound, probably because they probably used some reverb, I guess, that didn't ring long, but it expanded across, it panned across the spectrum of the left to right sound, so it made it seem bigger. So I think there's a
Right.
lot of that. So it seems fuller, but not louder, which I guess you just have to really listen to it. And
the
frankly,
oth-
I'm just happy to have both. I don't think I could pick which one I like better. I like being able to listen to. the
I
differences
like
between them.
in every song, I like parts of the remix and parts of the original. It's
You know,
sort
in
of
truth-
like it's sort of like a fan of Reese's peanut butter cups.
Uh,
You know, where you like your chocolate and you like your peanut butter. So let's just
put them
mix it.
together.
Let's remix it for a third time, adding the two together. See,
I wish I was
just-
talented enough to play them at the same time. To listen to
Reese's
them both.
peanut butter cups are my jam, man.
man, let me tell you.
Ah,
Yes.
that's the best ever.
The other thing about the remix that, and I know, Shayne, that you have said you've never been a fan of Getty's backup vocals.
Yep, and I had that in my notes, but I wasn't going to mention it because
Well,
I don't want
because
to lose all of our
I'd be-
fans.
well, I'd be kicking. I think the remix brings out his harmonies a little bit more, and I have zero issues.
That's when I listen to the remix. That's when I think, you know what? Maybe it would have been better to have a couple of keyboards than having Getty harmonize some oohs and ahs. But I don't do that on the original. I don't think that on the original. I don't know why.
So you
Thank
don't
you
like
very kindly.
So you don't like the in One Little Victory that he does.
Yeah, I do like it in One Little Victory. I don't like it on Peaceable Kingdom.
You don't like his harmonies when he's singing Peaceable Kingdom.
Not in the beginning. Because there's sometimes that and I'll kind of go through that as we go through the songs individually. I'll point out when I do and when I don't. And I know I'm in the minority. Uh-oh. Tim's getting a call.
Yeah.
Jay, well,
Hang on, excuse me, folks. I got to take this.
Oh,
Oh boy.
Yes, I know. We've had this discussion before. He won't get off of it.
You asked me.
Okay.
I wasn't going to
All
mention
right.
it. Oh,
All right. I know. I get it. No, don't worry.
no.
Me and Jay can handle this. Okay. Thanks. Yeah, I love you too. Bye.
Who was that?
Every Rush every Rush song fan. This is Shayne's last episode with
Oh
us.
no.
Oh no.
We'd like to
Oh,
let
no.
everybody know that Shayne has now been sacked.
Oh.
Oh no.
Jay and I shall be taking over everything. And
Oh, we're screwed.
yeah. So Jay, hey
So,
man, how'd you like that third song from Vapor Trails? Man, I thought it was
Tim,
pretty good. Yeah, so did I.
Does that
All
mean I have
right,
to
let's see on the next one.
does that mean I have to quit playing bass and run sound now?
Right. Wow.
Oh, okay, that's too
Yes.
inside. Someday we'll have to tell
That
that
was a little
story.
inside.
Yes,
Yeah.
we'll have to let people know that one. That's awesome.
Do y'all think?
But all the songs, Vapor Trails, it is so awesome.
Mm.
No. No. Don't you me. One Little Victory.
Okay.
Feeling Unlimited, Earthshine, Secret Touch of the Heart. Come on, man. Sweet Little Miracle. That is, well, I cannot wait till we get to that song.
Sweet Miracle?
Yeah.
So
Did I call
can
it
you pick-
Sweet Little Miracle? Yeah, Sweet
You
Miracle.
did.
It
Wait,
must
isn't
be
that a-
because of
isn't
my
that a
One
U2
Little
song?
Timothy.
One
Yeah.
Little Timothy. So Tim, can y'all pick favorite? What are your favorite songs? Because I'd like to see what your favorite songs are before, and then when we do the wrap up in September or October, what are your favorite songs from Vapor Trails?
I can tell you two of my favorite ones. Obviously, One Little Victory, I think, is probably my favorite. But I really love I love Freeze. I just think I think it sounds kick ass. It's good. I just like the sound.
Pretty badass.
Yeah.
Guitar and
Secret Touch. I like that one too, but I think that one's because I've listened to it a lot lately, so maybe that's why.
Mhm.
But right now, those are my favorite three, and that could easily change because Ghost Rider is great, like you said, Vapor Trail, Earthshine.
Least favorite? Any that are kind of your Middletown dreams of Vapor Trails? I'm sorry, your emotion detector of Vapor Trails? Your circumstances of Vapor Trails? No, you don't have one?
Okay, so after you've got One Little Victory and then you got a Ceiling Unlimited. When Ghost Rider starts, I'm kind of going, but then it gets better.
It kind of comes down.
It kind of brings it down a little bit, yeah. But I'm not saying that it's my least favorite. I'm just saying,
Ooh, it gives me an idea for another topic sometime. Tim,
But
do you have an emotion detector on Vapor Trail? He's not even gonna answer.
Are you talking to me or Jay?
Tim.
Oh, I didn't hear you say my name. I thought you were still asking Jay. I don't. Nocturne is probably my least favorite from the album, but it's not my emotion detector.
Gotcha.
Okay. When I've got my Rush playlist on shuffle, I'm not fast forwarding, skipping to the next song. I'm listening to it, but it's not one of my favorites from the album.
Okay.
My favorites in this order, and
can you rank them all? Just kidding.
No. I'll just give you my favorites. Earthshine is number one.
Wrong.
Everything else is number two from that album.
Okay. I love it.
It's Earthshine. It's Sweet Miracle, One Little Victory, Ceiling Unlimited, Secret Touch of the Heart.
Okay.
My least favorite are Ghost Rider, Vapor Trails, and Sweet Miracle. Sorry, Tim.
Sorry. Dude, okay.
Sorry. Oh no,
yeah, I know.
He's calling back.
We just I'm sorry, sir. Oh, I thought it was Ed. Oh no. Yes, Dan.
Ed and Dan.
You did? You had to? Okay, I'll get it done this time. Sorry. All right. Oh, guys, that was Dan.
Oh no.
He was wanting us to let the Every Rush Song fans know that Ed, the guy who I talked to earlier, has just been sacked.
Oh no.
And
Well, I
Dan
guess
just
that's
told
good.
me to make it permanent.
Like
Shayne,
waves.
you've just been sacked.
Oh,
How
no.
dare you speak anything ill against Sweet Miracle?
I just said it's my third favorite on Vapor Trails. That's all I said.
No, wait,
Sorry,
I'm
man.
getting a text. I'm getting a text. Hold on. It's hardly fair. Wow. I don't even know what that emoji means. Never seen that one before. Okay, yeah. All right. Let me just how do you what rhymes with go to hell?
um,
Anyway.
Boater shell.
Sorry,
Yeah.
that was Dan that texted me.
The same Dan.
Yeah,
Okay.
He wanted to know why we have our cell phones on while we're doing our podcast.
That's a good. Should I text him and tell him why?
You should, yeah, you should.
All right, we'll discuss
No.
our differences on songs when we get to the
When
song.
we get to the
Okay.
song, I might change my mind by then. It's part of the fun of this.
It's true. Yeah.
Your life
I-
depends on you changing your mind.
I don't know if I heard this said before, but I think the theme of the album is impermanence.
I think the theme of the album is Hawaii 5-0.
That did not go where I expected.
Greatest theme song ever.
Remember when Odessa Permian played that?
No,
At their
I
halftime?
wasn't.
Yes.
I
yes.
wasn't. I didn't get to go. Brian had asked me about this. He was. We were playing golf, and he was telling me, "Hey, man, remember this on the Odessa Permian?" I'm like, "No, I couldn't go because my uncle died. But thanks for bringing that up."
Wow. Mm. So
On that note,
number one, I would like to know what that word means that you just said a few minutes ago.
Oh, impermanence means that
it means that, like, as you get older, you sometimes have to have medical intervention to get.
No, that's no.
Oh. Sorry, I was thinking of something
It just
else. I
means
guess
like vapor. It's there and then it's gone. Like thoughts, it's there.
It's
and then
not permanent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's what everything is.
You mean like
he finds
change-
out that what he wanted to be permanent, the family, the life that he thought he had, ended, and then he went into this period of grief and depression, which he thought was going to last forever. But then that ended, like vapor, like the
too
earth
shall
shine that
pass.
only happens once a month, or
Yeah.
freeze, or just those
Yeah.
reactions just happen that fast, and then the moment's gone. And yeah. I was that's what I've been getting from almost every song, and I don't think I've heard anyone say that. Which is also a good thing to, like, when you're going through depression, that's something that you'll learn with meditation and focusing on your breath, focusing on the moment that turns into the next, like the line from One Little Victory, and the impermanence. Like, you focus on your breath because it just leads to the next. There's always a next one, and whatever good thing you're going through could end, because nothing lasts forever, impermanence, and whatever bad thing you might be going through will also pass and
Wake up, Tim.
comes in waves.
Tim.
Sorry, Tim might have COVID.
Oh,
No, I
that's true.
don't have that. And no, I'm
I
having
said
to
you might
listen
have
to
COVID.
words.
Well, speaking of things coming to an end, we may have to kind of move on from this episode, because it looks like, if I can see in the background, Tim, it looks like we've got some pretty nasty weather coming in.
Yeah, that ceiling is limited.
Ooh,
Yes, it is.
That ceiling is limited.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
Well, I guess we wore it out, didn't we?
Oh, we wore out the preview.
I think we wore out our
Now-
welcome with our.
Yes,
We
I know I wore
dive
out
into
mine. Apparently.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next week we'll be back with what's the first song on the album, Tim?
One Little Victory.
I was hoping for something a little more entertaining than that.
You mean like One Little Timothy? Yeah.
No, I was
okay.
like wanted to hear I was hoping
Oh,
you'd like
I'm
perform
sorry.
it.
I didn't know that that's what you wanted. So you didn't give me the
Wait,
signal.
take two
Right.
and
Like-
action. And next week we'll be back with well, what's the first song on Vapor Trails? One of
Well,
them?
Shayne, it goes a little something like this.
Got jazzy.
Hey Shane, can you please sample that for me, because that's going to be my new ringtone for shit for Tim.
I wonder if we
It
could
sounds
sell
like he's
that.
having an episode of some sort.
Well, until we get to hear that next week, email us 2112@everyrushsong.com. Check us out on the Soch at Every Rush Song on every social media platform. Until then, Tim, if this were to be the ending of this particular episode, how might one end suchness?
Marble Falls, you've been a fantastic audience tonight. We hope to see you again soon. Good night.